Welcome in, everyone. This is Sean with MTG808 Jr., your source for Standard Pauper content here on the interweb and home to the one and only, as far as we know, Youth Championship Scholarship Tournament Series. We gave away $750 in college scholarship at a youth tournament this past May. Hope to continue doing it, and you can support us doing it by loving and enjoying our content and check us out on patreon.com/mtg808jr. All right, now that the plug is out of the way, our goal for today is to go over the M19 spoilers. That's right, M19 is coming out. Pre-releases are this coming weekend. Side note, you can check out the local Oahu pre-release page or pre-release schedule for all the different card shops on the island. We have it posted on our Facebook page. We'll have a link to that in the description of this video. But if you are on Oahu and wanting to play in a M19 pre-release, you should check out that schedule. All right, but we are focusing on M19 spoilers. There are awesome Planeswalkers. 5 brand new, never before printed Planeswalkers, one in each color, and a 6th Planeswalker down here in the I passed it. Multicolored, we have the Nicol Bolas, the Ravager, and he transforms into Nicol Bolas the Arisen. So awesome stuff happening in this set. For Magic in general, in terms of Standard Pauper, which is what we're going to be focusing on here today, there are some standouts that might shake up the format. And will definitely do a lot to shape the format once rotation happens in the fall. So when this set comes out, no sets are going to rotate out. It's still going to be Kaladesh forward for standard legality. But in the fall, when the Ravnica set comes out, the Kaladesh, Aether Revolt, Amonkhet, and Hour of Devastation will rotate out, and they will no longer be legal. So there's going to be lots of cards that we're going to touch on today that are going to be good, such as Cavalry Drillmaster, that are probably going to be good after rotation. But we're going to talk about those cards today, as well as some cards that might be seeing play as soon as they are released. So I pulled out some standouts, wrote about them on our Facebook page, which you should check out if you want more consistent content on Standard Pauper. But so we're just going to be recapping those that I've already covered on our Facebook page, and then a couple more that have come up since I've done those. So first card here, Cavalry Drillmaster, 1 and a white for a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. This is at its best in a white aggressive deck, especially if you're able to play a 1-drop on turn 1, right? Attack with it with a big first strike bonus on turn 2, start pushing the damage through. It's a very good card in a white aggressive deck. And, mono white aggro did win our scholarship tournament back in May. However, white aggro won the scholarship tournament because it currently has 2 of the best 2-drops in probably the whole Standard Pauper format, in the form of Gustwalker and Oketra's Avenger, both are which one is an Amonkhet, other is an Hour of Devastation. So once those rotate out in the fall, I think Cavalry Drillmaster will see some play. Until then, it'll probably be overshadowed by Gustwalker and Oketra's Avenger. But very good card. All right, Titanic Growth. This is a reprint. It hasn't, as far as I know, it hasn't been in Standard for a while. It might have been one of those promo things that was like niche legal, but nobody had any copies. But Titanic Growth is going to be in the main set for M19. 1 green, 1 colorless, instant. Target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. We've seen lots of 2-mana instant combat tricks like this see play in Standard Pauper. Most notably would be Gift of Growth, I think is what it's called. Gift of Strength, excuse me. It was in Hour of Devastation, I believe. 1 green, 1 colorless. Target creature gets +3/+3 and reach until end of turn. So this doesn't give reach, but it does give an extra +1/+1, right? So if your goal is just hitting really hard, winning in combat, punching your opponent in the face really hard, this is better than Gift of Strength. If your plan is to have some points against blocking flying creatures, we have seen many what is it called? Bastion Inventors wearing Cartouche of Knowledges, or Jade Guardians wearing Cartouche of Knowledges, take down tournaments. And if that's the case, Gift of Strength is probably better, but in most other cases, Titanic Growth is going to be better. So, having options is definitely what this game is about. Green mages now have options of what pump spell they want to use. Alright, Silverbeat Griffin. This card is not in the actual set. You will not open this card in a booster pack. However, it is technically in the set because it is printed in the Ajani Planeswalker Precon deck. So, if you want copies of this card, you have to, unfortunately, go buy the Ajani Planeswalker Precon deck, or buy it online as singles. No telling how expensive they'll be. But this card will want to... White aggressive decks will want to play this card. Same with the Drillmaster, right? This card is not better than Gustwalker. It is not better than Oketcher's Avenger, just on straight stats. But it is... I don't see... Once rotation happens, it's going to be hard to find another 2-drop that will be preferable in white aggressive decks. Silverbeat Griffin is bananas for a white aggressive deck, especially once Gustwalker and Oketcher's Avenger rotate out. So keep your eye on this card. If you want to play white aggro post-rotation, try to figure out a way to pick up copies of Silverbeat Griffin. Alright, Murder. This is a reprint. It is an uncommon in M19, but it is legal in Standard Pauper because it was printed as a common before. In previous core sets, this was a common. These days, this effect spending only 3 mana to kill any creature at instant speed is an uncommon effect these days, but it was not always, so it is legal in Standard Pauper. What can I say about this card? It's great. Control decks will want this card as an unconditional answer. Aggro decks will want this card as an unconditional answer, right? You can kill creatures that are planning on blocking. You can kill creatures that are planning on attacking. This is just going to be kind of the benchmark good card in black decks. So if you want to play a black deck, no matter what kind of black deck you want to play, you probably want to pick up some copies of Murder. Luckily, even though it is an uncommon in this set, it was a common in previous sets, so getting older versions should be relatively easy if you order online or through one of the card stores, or if you just want to bust packs open, you will have a chance of opening them in M19 packs. Alright, take Vengence. 1 and a white. Sorcery, destroy target tapped creature. So if this were an instant, you would be able to kill a tapped creature after it declares itself as an attacker, but before it deals damage. However, since this is a sorcery, you have to take damage from it once, or block it with something once, and then cast this spell on your turn after the creature is tapped and your opponent already got a use out of it. But that being said, your opponent got a use out of it, but now it's dead. So take Vengence is a pretty powerful effect. Very conditional, right? Aggressive decks don't want this card because they want their removal to remove blockers, but control decks might want to consider this as a possibility for 2-mana removal spells. Alright, moving on. Trusty Pack Beast. 1 white, 2 colorless for a 2/3. Decent stats for a 3-drop. Excuse me. When Trusty Pack Beast enters the battlefield, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can reliably and consistently have an artifact in your graveyard to get back with Trusty Pack Beast, this is a really, really good rate. It is essentially a 3-mana 2/3 when it comes into play, draw a card, right? How good that card is depends on the quality of the artifacts that you have in your graveyard, but it shouldn't be that hard to get like a Traveler's Amulet or a Renegade map, or a Sparring Construct, right? Those cheap artifacts, or an Implement of Improvement or an Implement of Combustion, right? Those cheap artifacts that kind of want to go to the graveyard anyway, that might be in your graveyard by the time turn 3 rolls around, are going to be great with this card. So, not really sure what this card's home is going to be, but if it can find a home, I think it's going to be very powerful. Alright. Skyscanner, 3 colorless mana for an artifact Thopter, 1/1 flying. When Skyscanner enters the battlefield, draw a card. So, 3 mana, 1/1 flyer, not the greatest stats, but when you tack on draw a card when it enters the battlefield, all of a sudden you have yourself a really good rate, right? What deck is going to want this? I'm not sure, but a cantrip. We call cards that replace themselves or draw a card, we call them cantrips. So a cantripping creature at 3 mana that any deck can play, it's not the most powerful effect, but if you want to just up the consistency of your deck a little bit, this guy will fit right in, right? Having flying means that it's good at attacking. Being a 1/1 flyer means that it's great at blocking, right? You'll chump block something, prevent some damage, you'll draw a card. Just all around smooth card. This card does just enough in all these different areas to potentially see play, so keep your eye on Skyscanner. Alright, Sparktone Dragon. I am not sure if this one is going to see play, but I think it has a lot of potential. 3 colorless, 2 red for a 3/3 flying. When Sparktone Dragon enters the battlefield, you may pay an additional 2 colorless and a red. When you do, it deals 3 damage to any target. So you have to have the 3 mana open as it enters the battlefield, which means 8 mana all at once. So that's kind of expensive, but if you do have the 8 mana, a 3/3 flyer is good. A 3/3 flyer that kills something is even better, right? So 8 mana is still pretty expensive, but it is a pretty powerful 2-for-1. You're probably going to kill a decent creature with the ability. You're going to be left with a decent creature after this card stays in play. So you're going to want to play this in a ramp deck that can reliably get to 8 mana, because casting this as a 5 mana 3/3 is just a little underwhelming for Standard Pauper. But if you can find a red-green ramp deck, would probably want to play this card, and it would be great. So Sparktone Dragon, keep your eye on it. Okay, Salvager of Secrets. It is a 5 mana, 3 colorless, and 2 blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. When it enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. We've seen this effect in Standard Pauper recently in the form of Gitu Chronicler. Gitu Chronicler was red, and Gitu Chronicler cost 6 mana total, but when paired with a card like Wander in Death, which is 3 mana, return 2 target creatures from your graveyard to your hand, or Soul Salvage, which is the exact same thing, but Wander in Death has cycling for 2 colorless, you have a very powerful loop, right? So cast Wander in Death, get back this guy and another creature. This creature dies, or you play it, you get back Wander in Death, this creature dies, you cast Wander in Death, you get it back, right? You have a loop of never-ending creatures as long as it doesn't get exiled. So that's a very, very powerful endgame. So I think that the best control decks in this format are going to revolve around that loop. If you haven't already, go check out the black-red control deck tech that I posted probably about a month ago. That deck is great. I think it's as close to an auto win against aggro decks as you can get. I think the only weakness that deck has, it's a pretty glaring weakness, is hexproof creatures. But that deck just has a great stream of card advantage. It has an almost unbeatable late game. It's amazing. So this card is definitely going to make waves, right? Gitu Chronicler was red, so you had to play red-black to get the loop. This opens up the possibility for blue-black having the same really, really strong endgame. So keep an eye on it. Okay, Shock. Shock is being reprinted in M19. One of the backbones of the format, arguably the best spell in the format. Arguably the best spell in the format. It was not set to rotate out until the fall, but now, even after rotation, it will still be legal. So, rejoice, red players, you still have the best 1 mana spell in the format, and the availability of it is going to go way up, because a bunch of people are going to be opening M19 booster packs, which means there's going to be more Shocks in circulation, which means that it's going to be easier to build your red decks. So, congratulations, red players. Shock is back. Woo! Okay, Gravedigger. Gravedigger is currently legal in Standard Pauper. It is in Amonkhet, I believe, and it is an uncommon, but it was a common in previous sets. It's a 4 mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If we haven't seen this see play except in a black-white zombie deck, because it's a zombie, so its creature type is relevant. But it hasn't really made too many waves outside of that. I do think that this is a a very powerful effect, though. So if the format slows down a little bit, which I think it will once all these exert creatures rotate out in the fall, I think Gravedigger is going to be poised to be one of the cornerstones of the format. So keep an eye on Gravedigger. Might not see play right away, but once rotation happens, it will still be legal thanks to being an M19, and I think it will be very good. All right, Goblin Instigator. This is a brand new card, never been printed before, but we've seen cards similar to this before, and they've always been good. So, 1 red, 1 colorless, 1/1 Goblin. When it enters the battlefield, make a 1/1 Goblin token. So you essentially get 2 1/1 red Goblins for 2 mana. That's very good for token strategies going wide. For we haven't seen any common cards that say Goblins matter, but you know, Goblins are one of the most beloved creature types in Magic. It would not surprise me if we did see some Goblins Matter cards in the next couple sets. So keep your eye on this. Red is losing its really powerful 2-drops, so it's going to be looking to fill that void. Goblin Instigator might be the ticket. Alright, Scholar of Stars. 4 mana, 3/2, or 3 colorless, 1 blue for a 3/2 human artificer, relevant creature type with Inventor's Goggles. When Scholar of Stars enters the battlefield, if you control an artifact, draw a card. So if you have an Inventor's Goggles in play when you play this, you get a 4 mana 3/2, immediately gets equipped with Inventor's Goggles, so it's a 4 mana 4/4, very solid. And since you have Inventor's Goggles in play, you're going to draw a card. So a 4 mana 4/4 that draws you a card when it enters the battlefield, it's going to be great. Is this card going to see play once Inventor's Goggles rotates out in the fall? I don't know. It looks like there's an Artifact Matters theme in this set, so it could very well still see play after that. But it will definitely see play alongside Inventor's Goggles for the next couple months until rotation. So, Scholar of Stars, great addition for blue aggressive decks. Alright, Lightning Strike. Not only did red players get a reprint of Shock, but they also got a reprint of Lightning Strike. It is an uncommon here. It was an uncommon in Ixalan. It was not set to rotate out anytime soon because Ixalan is going to be staying in the format, but it is going to be the supply of it is going to be increased. Lots of people are going to be opening M19 packs, which means more Lightning Strikes will be available for the community. There's a lot of youth players that have been playing red decks that don't have their playset of Lightning Strikes and have been playing other cards instead. Lightning Strike is very good. If you're playing red, you should definitely be considering playing it. So having more Lightning Strikes out there is a great thing. Thank you, Wizards, for the Lightning Strike reprint. All right. Oh, is that it? Okay, we did do some other cards, but I guess... Oh, I know why. Those were not pictures. Okay, so I'm just going to pull them up here, and we'll talk about them very briefly. Okay, Essence Scatter is getting reprinted. It was set to rotate out, so in the fall, you will not need to worry about Essence Scatter leaving in the fall because it will be back. Essence Scatter is great. Gearsmith Prodigy. Gearsmith Prodigy, this guy I think is going to make a lot of waves, especially while Inventor's Goggles is still legal. So, a 1 blue mana, 1/2 human artificer. It gets +1/+0 as long as you control an artifact. So it's essentially a 1 mana 2/2 as long as you have an artifact in play. If you're playing an aggressive deck, that means that you're going to want to play equipment like Hone Kopesh or Short Sword or Inventor's Goggles. So alongside those cards, this guy is probably the best or the most powerful 1-drop in the format, right? You don't get 2-powered 1 mana creatures at common very often. So this guy is going to be making waves. Check out your blue aggressive decks, especially between now and rotation. Inventor's Goggles is going to be great. All right, continuing. There is one. Here's the other big one. Elvish Rejuvenator. This is a brand new card, never been printed before. 2 colorless, 1 green for a 1/1 elf druid. When Elvish Rejuvenator enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So looking at the top 5, statistically speaking, it's not 100% that you're going to hit a land, but it's pretty darn close. it's going to be somewhere in the realm of like 90% in the average deck. So this is a 3-mana creature that ramps you. The creature does not need to live in order for you to get the bonus because it puts the land straight into play. This card is going to see play. You know, the 3-mana ramp options in the set currently are Gift of Paradise, which gains you life and fixes your mana. This does not fix your mana, but it gives you a battlefield presence. So this, alongside with Gift of Paradise, are kind of going to be the go-to 3-drop ramp spells. We haven't really seen ramp decks kind of... They haven't been too popular in our youth tournaments, but I do think that they have a lot of potential, and this is a really great tool for them to utilize. So, Elvish Rejuvenator, very happy to see that included in the set. Alright, there are a couple other cards. Let me just take a look here. Nothing too notable. Omen Speaker here. This card... this is a reprint. It did see Fringe play in Standard when it was printed before in Theros, so I anticipate it's good enough to see constructed play. We'll see if it finds a home in Standard Pauper. 1 colorless, 1 blue for a 1/3 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Right, which means you look at your top 2 cards, you choose if you want to keep them on top or on bottom. You can split them, so you can put 1 on top, 1 on bottom, or both on bottom, or both on top, in whatever order you choose. Having that much card selection tacked on to you know, a body with decent stats means that this card is good enough to see play. It will probably need to have a home in a control deck where you know, you're more interested in blocking and consistency than you are in attacking. But you know, this card is going to see play. So keep your eye on Omen Speaker. Okay, Smelt is a notable card. Shatter has seen sideboard play. This is the exact same card. It's just 1 colorless cheaper, so it's a strict upgrade from Shatter. Red decks are going to be sideboarding this card. What else? Let's see. That's about the big ones. Oh, here, I pulled these up. So, Knightly Valor, this is a reprint. It was printed as a common previously, so it is legal in Standard Pauper. 5 mana, Enchantment Aura, enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with Vigilance, and whatever creature you enchant, it gets +2/+2 and has Vigilance. So, it buffs up whatever creature you enchant it. Ooh, excuse me. It buffs up whatever creature you enchant it with, and then it also makes a 2/2 knight creature token. We've seen hexproof aura strategies do well in Standard Pauper. This would be a solid option for them. We haven't really seen them playing white, but if they did want to dip into white, this is an option. We have also seen token decks be pretty popular, so this would fit real nicely at the top of the curve in the token decks, right? You make 1 token bigger and you pop out another token, right? It kind of allows you to go wide, gives you a big battlefield presence. This card is very powerful. I think it should be considered as an option in white decks. All right, and last but not least, we have some mana fixing. Rupture Spire, again, it's an uncommon here, but it was a common in one of the old Ravnica sets. I don't remember which one. And so it enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you have to sacrifice it unless you pay 1. But then it taps for any color of mana. So, you know, we haven't really seen good mana fixing. Evolving Wilds is kind of the best that we've gotten so far. But, you know, it still only fixes 1 color of mana. This fixes all your colors of mana. It is very slow, though. So, you know, it's not free to play this card. But for if a 3-color deck did emerge, it would probably consider playing this card. So keep your eye on Rupture Spire. All right. So that is all that we've got for y'all today. Thank you for stopping by. If you want to support Standard Pauper content on the interweb... Oh, not this. If you want to support Standard Pauper content on the interweb, or you want to support Youth Magic tournaments here on Oahu, please consider becoming a Patreon subscriber to MTG 808 Junior over on Patreon. All of the scholarship tournaments that we do, all of the youth tournaments that we run, all the content that we make is completely Patreon funded. So if you want to support our project, please consider becoming a Patreon. You'll get some cool perks. You'll get to check out our expenditure each month, our expenditure report, and you'll be helping a great cause. So thanks for stopping by. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for all the updates on Standard Pauper content, and I will catch you later. Peace.